How have aspects of British social realist films developed to create a more true representation of British life? Social realist films create an imbalanced portrayal of British life due to the negative issues they represent, such as violence, drugs, unemployment, discrimination against race, sexuality, gender, and many other undesirable issues. Due to the negative connotations associated with these subjects, young generations popularly featured in social realist films are being unfairly stereotyped. Two films that stand apart from this are Ken Loach's Kes and Stephen Daldry's Billy Elliot, two very similar films about a young boy growing up in Britain. The latter having more success, audiences less aware of more classical social realist films don't realise the connection the two have. Even when filming Billy Elliot, they had no desire to hide that Kes was the template and the original that inspired the film. This applies mainly to the storyline and portrayal of the protagonists, both named Billy.
Billy Elliot.
Kes is set in late 1960s Yorkshire, focusing on the deprivation of the lowest paid working class coal mining areas at the time. To follow, Billy Elliot is set a few decades later at the time of the coal mining strike in the mid-1980s. Despite this age gap, both communities are represented in a similar way, as the livelihood and standard of living hadn't changed much apart from the addition of a few cars. At the time, both Billies would have been fated to work in the mines. There were very little opportunities, so this meant that no one had any aspirations, because they understood that this is what their life included. Nothing more, nothing less. In most other social realist films, this leads to the protagonist resorting to a downward spiral of rebellion as escapism, by succumbing to things such as violence and drugs, things that have negative connotations, creating a bad stereotype of people in Britain.
What's on the menu this evening, sir?
Your favourite dish?
Let's take Trainspotting for example. Renton, the protagonist, tries to bet himself and come off drugs, but when faced with the reality around him, along with the temptation of his friends, resorts back to his old self. It is this lack of control that is represented through this character that puts a negative view on things, however true the representation may be. What I'm trying to say is that British social realist films are never made about anything positive. It is always the negative that are chosen to be represented. The difference with these boys is that they are both from poor and undernourished backgrounds. More so in Kes than Billy Elliot, the boys' families are not supportive of the youngest members and their passions. However, in Billy Elliot, as the film progresses, it's clear that they do care about each other, a technique used to evoke emotion from the audience. There is violence and depravity all around them, yet instead of conforming, they try to better themselves and find solace when doing the thing that they are passionate about. They are not only escaping the hardship of living, but also the conformity to rebel. The ending of these films is what contrasts them from each other. In Kes, despite his talent in training the kestrel and succeeding to impress others, the bird gets killed and all his dreams are lost and down the drain. This is typical for British social realist films. However, in Billy Elliot, through perseverance and support, he succeeds in finding an opportunity to turn his dreams and passion into a real job. He escapes. It is this very uplifting and happy ending which is why the audience responds to it more than Kes. This, however, does not necessarily mean it is a more truthful representation than other social realist films, just because it has a happy ending, but it gives the audience hope by saying sometimes it doesn't all end bad.